Welcome back. It's part 22 of the Turnabout in the Lighthouse Lunacy, and I've just been spending several minutes contemplating what this contradiction could possibly be, and I figured out at least one possible mode of attack is none of us possess the means to fire a gun remotely, but if you check the hunt devices, another device can fire a gun inserted into it and analyze the resulting rifling marks. You're not giving someone enough credit here. Yourself and your state-of-the-art technology, that is. Excuse me. Theoretically, you absolutely had the means to fire a gun remotely. Your tools include an autonomous drone, no? Oh, I know, yeah. The drone. Now, I wasn't even looking at that one. But I guess that would make more sense.
Oh, a drone! My grandchildren have one of those. Don't they require a remote to operate? I thought that wasn't possible in this tower.
Not if we're considering the fact that this one is autonomous, Your Honor. That implies that it can operate automatically with no constant input required.
I see! So it's like one of those robots from the Space Center. Technology sure is advancing quickly these days.
The point is, this thing can probably be pre-programmed to carry out certain instructions. Who's to say it couldn't have been used to carry and fire a gun?
Wait, Miss Chase, are you saying?
Anyone who asked Dr. Hellinger if that would have been technically possible. This is a textbook example of everything that is wrong with detectives of your type. For reference, this is the drone in question. No, I cannot deny that it's possible to mount a gun to it. Firing might be difficult, however. Good thing you got that covered as well. Even if your drone couldn't fire by itself, you have another device to catch. See, that's where this comes in. Your rifle and mark analyzer is evidently capable of firing shots on its own. Conceded. What's your next step? Are you now going to run with this possibility simply because you found it? It appears to have been the pattern so far. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you argued that Lillian is the culprit by a process of elimination. Sadly, even one additional possibility, even if unproven, defeats that process entirely. Mr. Covey, you saw that drone. Isn't it correct I had it with me the entire time? I certainly saw it hovering close to you whenever I looked. You actually had it flying around? Correct. The drone was put into self-defense mode at the time. I assessed at a high level of caution was warranted. If someone tried to get violent in my presence, it would have instantly attacked them. It wouldn't have shot bullets, of course. What it would have done is stun them with an appropriate amount of electricity. We only have your word for that. Not exactly the best source. Mr. Cove, this has remained with me at all times, isn't it? Only the times I actually looked towards. I'm sure it was with you at all times after we got to the crimes. Couldn't swear on it if we were talking about investigation and beneficence. That's unfortunate. Well then, that very much leaves the option that you sent that drone out with some other task. So either he is being truthful, or he is the culprit but he wants to leave open the possibility of accusing her later. With the door to the room wide open, it's hard to deny it could have left to do something. Do you realise how many assumptions you have to make for that to become workable? It was the first time I ever went to that floor. How could I possibly have been aware of the situation enough to give reliable instructions to it? I could not have predicted that the other group would split up conveniently. Anyone spotting the drone would have given it away. It would have been an objectively stupid plan. Stupid but possible. Miss Maristella claims she closed the door behind her when she left justice. In order for my drone to get in, Mr. Guard would have needed to open the door. Did he open it and then step back? Well, the drone could have looked threatening and caused him to back off. You positive I predicted that I had to instruct to shoot him on, not to shoot him on sight, but to threaten him first? I just want to point out there are still options here, no matter how shaky. It's understandable you fail to consider it since it involves yourself, but we don't have that luxury.
Miss Chase, I'm frankly not sure what you're trying to do. You called these witnesses to further the case against Miss Maristella, did you not? Why are you attempting to discredit them now?
That wasn't my intention, Your Honour. Lillian will have a field day with this if I don't subject them to at least a little scrutiny. And to Hellinger adequately explain why it's a somewhat unlikely theory. It only strengthens the real case.
I would appreciate if you could redirect your focus back on how this case is tied to Mrs. Holden's murder. That's what really matters for the question of the third-party defendant's liability.
Of course. I'll get to addressing that. Or I'll just keep looking for something more case-breaking. Seems like this wasn't good enough to do the trick. So I need some more if I want to really get them. Well, we'll have to think about this together. When we arrived on the floor, we split into two groups. The two of us went into beneficence. Anything wrong with that? Nope, probably not. I began my investigation of the room while Mr. Cover manually surveyed it within my sight. I've tried a lot of things on this statement, but it doesn't really seem like there's much contradiction with this. I thought it might be while she was setting up the hunt devices, but no, she set them up and kept them in her sights somehow, which would require an incredible amount of concentration. Not the gun. Key. Autopsy. What's in the autopsy? Display stand. Lock glass case. Blood. Baton. Now we have shelf. We have this joint affidavit. And since they stayed in each of the sites here, how long does it say it takes to set up hunt? Isn't said, I think. If the entrance open would have noticed anyone pass by the room, nobody did. That is true, they would have noticed someone go in the elevator as well. "15 minutes. There was no question they came from the justice room. He's saying that, but the devices make a lot of noise while booting up. No? I thought it made sense. Doesn't seem there's any contradiction with that then. Even if it did, how could Miss Maristella have known about it? A drone attack? Now we're getting somewhere. Can't tell if you're mocking me. Nah, that's totally valid. Don't let the haters tell you it's a bad solution. Thanks, doesn't seem to have done much though. Is there another angle I can take with this? Feels like the issue is the alibi is still too strong for it to matter. Because they're saying they stayed together the whole time. We get to put a dent in that. Not an easy task. These might be the most attentive witnesses yet. I can stop now though. I might have to work my way through the sequence of events. Think about what each step of the required me to go. Maybe things couldn't have gone as smoothly as they made it. I already tried the setting up the hunt devices contradiction, so... What was in Beneficence? Beneficence is some scraps or something. So I'll go through the sequence of events, work out what each of them was about to do. Left the room open. Set the hunt device to perform a scan and, you know, has some miraculous level of concentration because I have tried this contradiction on the statement, I'm pretty sure. So they went to Beneficence, started setting up the hunt devices. I've tried the hunt on this. Within my sight. They stayed in each of the sites, but they also paid attention to the entrance. No? Sorry, I'm not too quick on my feet with this one. Unlike the last couple of contradictions, last couple of testimonies, I've been able to get through pretty quickly. I'm back to being completely stumped. So, I don't want to waste too much time. So I'm going to pause the video again and I'll have another little think. I did have to use the third hint for this one in the walkthrough. For full transparency. In this case, I would feel like you should forgive me for this one, because this one is a very tricky little contradiction, but the devil's in the details. Now, she immediately began her investigation, but how can she immediately begin her investigation when she would have had to set up the hunt device, which takes about 15 minutes to set up or something like that. It takes a while to set up. She can't have immediately began her investigation. She would have had to go back to the room to grab her hunt devices unless she took them with her. They were already set up in the other room. I hadn't thought about the logistics of that until I got that third hint. I'm sorry, but there's something about the series of events that I cannot pause. And by the way, the hint was something like if they went immediately to the scene, they shouldn't be able to do something so quickly, which was basically the hint I needed. That's unfortunate. It's an absolutely objective, accurate account. You claim that you immediately started your investigation when you reached the crime scene. Correct. Then I'm sure you'll be able to explain this objective contradiction in your testimony to me. Mr. Covers, that the two of you left Beneficence without delay after hearing the guns. We're talking about a few seconds tops here. That creates a huge issue. An irreconcilable problem of logistics. What? You made it very clear that you're using these devices in all your investigations. But there are clearly too many to carry them all around at once. They can't actually be assembled into a single movable block. Handy, but that assembly process would definitely require some time. I won't deny that. However, the effort is worth it. I'm not here to criticise your methods. Still, you heard the gunshots while in the middle of the investigating Beneficence. Clearly, several devices must have been unpacked for use at the time. There was no way to rush the crime scene with them as swiftly as Mr. Cover made it sound. Look at everything I'm carrying. It's not that difficult. The dimensions are a bit larger here.
Didn't you simply leave them in Beneficence? She could always come back to pick them up later.
If she had done that, she couldn't have started her investigation immediately like she said. Doubling back to pick up your stuff first would hardly qualify as that. Besides, you don't strike me as the type to leave your precious devices unattended. Care to explain this flaw in your account, Dr. Hellinger? I fell short of the objective output of machines, it appears. You are correct. At the time of the gunshots, I did not rush to the scene immediately. I collected my hunt devices first, before following Mr. Cover. This required several minutes.
Doesn't that mean that you were at the scene much later than you said?
I never specified when I personally arrived at the scene. However, it seems that we unintentionally worded our summary ambiguously, which caused the incorrect assumption that Mr. Cover and I rushed the scene together. So in reality, Mr. Cover went ahead and you caught up later after gathering all your tools. Kind of an important detail to leave out. Leaving the possibility that Cover did do this crime. That the gunshots were faked? While I value accuracy, I posit you're overstating the importance of this distinction. Importance? The straight means you didn't actually give each other an alibi at all times. Correct, there was a period in which we weren't together. However, the gunshots had already been fired at that point. It makes no difference. We were together at what was unquestionably the moment of the crime. The sound of gunshots isn't necessarily the sound of a murder. You can't really argue for more faked gunshots in this instance. Mr. Guard was still alive and well when we came to the floor and split up. From that point onwards, neither of us had a chance to kill him until those shots happened. Mr. Guard was indisputably already dead by the time either of us got to the scene. You will have to agree that this small gap does not impact our process of elimination. Miss Maristella remains the only possible shooter. I suppose. Was it your suspect? Why are you bothering with points like this? This wouldn't have happened if you had worded more statements more clearly.
Miss Chase has a point. Be more careful with what your testimony implies in the future.
And this is why we don't have multiple witnesses testify at once. It always leads to problems like this.
It's unacceptable to have a misleading statement in the court record. Please amend it.
Of course, I will provide a clarified version. Ooh. Split into two groups. Investigators moved to the left. We went to the front. Left the door. Took a watch in the hallway. Sitting to the sides before more followed a brief pause. Skogo immediately ran to the source. Dr. Hellinger clicked the tools and followed after several minutes. So he had time to tamper with the scene, if Lillian is really to be believed. I assumed that Dr. Hellinger was right behind me when I rushed out of the room. My humblest apologies. Or you just didn't sweat the details.
He's also right, however. These are your witnesses. I'm not certain why you are trying to discredit them.
Well, all good witnesses need to be able to stand up to a bit of scrutiny. Lillian would no doubt have pointed this out in her cross-examination, Might as well get it out of the way.
I could have forgiven one instance, but you have done it twice now. Are you really trying to argue your case, Miss Chase? To me, it's starting to seem like you are simply trying to stall.
Oh, why does the judge not have dementia at all in this case? He's actually been pretty smart so far. I think it's more obvious what her aim is, Your Honour. She knows she can't really prove any connection between Miss Maristella and Mrs. Holden's death. Therefore, she is looking for a new suspect, and it's clear I'm the current target. Those are just your assumptions. I never said I was suspecting you. Commit to a clear stance in that case. Do you think I'm the culprit? Yes or no? I guess that's going to be it for my excuses. All I can say is there's a possibility you are. Well, I'll give you credit for not jumping the gun completely. Very well, let's put your method to the test. I challenge you to present a valid theory with me as the mastermind for every incident. I'm surprised you just straight up asked for that. You trying to put me on the spot? I am curious how deep this rabbit hole goes. Accusing the detective in charge of the case should be trivial enough. Sure. What do you want me to stop? I suppose you already presented how I could have killed Mr. Gart, but let's start from the beginning. Well, Miss Holden's murder could have been accomplished in much a similar way. By employing your drone, that is. Though, I don't think you could have fired a gun in that case. After all, the guard didn't see you bring one, and I see no reason for Mrs. Holden to give you hers. I don't see the problem. I'm the one who investigated the body. Might as well claim I simply faked the autopsy report altogether. Well, that seems too risky. Someone else will definitely check once we got out of here. Say what you want about the police. I doubt they've missed that the wound wasn't even caused by a gun. Fair enough. If we had the provision that I can't be too obvious, that eliminates the trivial approach. What now, Aurelia Chase? Now we think about how this drone could have been used to accomplish the same without a gun. And you mentioned just the thing, because it is capable of stunning people with electricity. You wouldn't have even had to give new instructions. The self-defense programming you mentioned is perfect for this. Simply instruct the drone to protect me. It follows me into the room unnoticed since it's pretty dim in there. Aren't you forgetting the witness accounts? An object doesn't become unnoticeable because it's flying a few meters above the ground. Crap, she got me there. Right, well, it's still not inconceivable of going to the room somehow. I'm sure you could miss it if it was fast enough. Everything makes sense once it's inside. Once the victim attacks me, the drone stuns her. What about the noise? The bright flash? The flash could easily be caused by an electric shock, no? It's possible the drone is also capable of making a loud noise along with it. And that makes sense even just for self-defense purposes, loud noises startle people. Reasonable. You are claiming the victim was never shot at all? The only photo included in the autopsy does not actually show the wound. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. We never actually see her wounded in this photo. And, you know, no blood either, really. In fact, if that's how the victim was found, nobody could have really seen it. We already pointed out that contradiction with Monopoly as well. That's interesting. However, everyone's cast to your stipulation from before. At some point, somebody would certainly have noticed that the victim hadn't really been shot. That's true. Unless the victim was in fact shot before we get to that point. But there'll be a simple way to make sure that stays a non-issue. You would simply have to claim the autopsy is outdated, shoot the victim. I just want to clear, just for the lols, simply claim that your autopsy was rushed and you didn't notice. This issue is the reverse of not noticing something. How would that excuse describing a non-existent wound in great detail? Excuse describing a non-existent wound in great detail? I don't know, maybe you can just say you saw a drop of blood and assumed it was a hole reaching all the way to the heart.
Your penalty count is outdated, Miss Chase. Let's fix that.
Sorry, I updated my brain now. What I meant to suggest was, this issue can easily be resolved if the victim was in fact shot before we ever get to that point.
The victim was shot later. I thought we established there was no other gunshots.
Dr. Hellinger performed the autopsy, and she was also handed my gun after the crime. A gun that was already missing one bullet at the time? according to witnesses. While true, there could be an innocent explanation for that. It also doesn't prove that the gun was fired at that time. What about the spent shell casing at the scene? The one that was discovered by you? Please. You could have easily placed it after shooting the victim for real. Acceptable, I suppose. That is feasible for me, even with other people present. The same cannot be said about firing a gunshot. Even if I had full reign of the scene, a second one was discharged for forensic purposes. There was always at least one other person present. Besides, it's bound to make a loud noise, so people outside would have also heard it. There was no opportunity for me to shoot the victim without arousing suspicion. I have to disagree on that as well. There was a you could have concealed the shot. I think especially there was a way. Oh, you're getting really blatant with these mistakes now. 0 out of 10. You had to shoot Mrs. Holden's body while this was happening. The murder of Mr. God. She would have actually been lying on the floor for way too long. The trial of Mr. God. But it's got to be the rifling marks. In order to compare the rifling marks for the bullet to my gun, you had to fire at least one more shot. However, what if that was just a pretext to fire the fatal shot in the first place?
The victim was actually killed during the rifle mark test. Wouldn't somebody have noticed?
To my recollection, Dr. Helen just said she placed my gun in one of her devices to fire that extra bullet. She could have made it seem like the device was sealed, but was actually aimed at the body. Very devious, but that would leave one bullet short, correct? I could not have actually had a second bullet to compare to in this case. You're the only one here who can actually compare bullets. For all we know, you just pretended to do it. I can produce the 2 bullets for you right here if you want. A comparison between them would be absolutely consistent with my results. I suppose you could simply say I'm still bluffing at the moment, but do you really believe that? No, that'd just screw you over once the police examine the evidence. Yet if you accept this claim, your theory still has a fatal flaw. After all, I would have needed to fire the gun not once, but twice. Mr. Nellen confirmed the number of bullets right after the crime. It's not reflected in the court record, but you will find it to be consistent with only one additional shot being fired since then. And naturally, everyone should have heard me firing the second shot. First of all, you simply reloaded one bullet into the gun. It's indisputable that nobody could have smuggled bullets through the metal detector unnoticed. So where would I have gotten this extra bullet from? It's fairly simple to explain. There was one of the source of bullets right inside this building. Holes up to 6 bullets, but only 5 were fired. That's what I was finding suspicious during that cross-examination as well, but I wasn't sure where to go with it. But now, there was a fully loaded second gun available in this building. Since it belonged to the victim, it's not inconceivable you found it on her body. A bold claim that would necessitate she took it to the study, but then did not use it. Ignoring how much sense that makes for now, there's something uncanny about this gun. By all accounts, only 5 bullets should have been fired from this, yet this gun is able to hold 6. This suggests that one of them was used for some other purpose. You could have removed it and put it into my gun, still placing your rifling marks in the analyzer. Then, when your drone shot Mr. Gart, you used that signal to have your machine fired. The shot would have blended in with the others, and you would have got you would get your second bullet. I really wonder what I was planning to do if we had never decided to investigate the lower floor. It only came about because of 2 factors outside my control. Namely, Mr. Poley's testimony and Mr. Holden's decision to actually pursue the matter. Oh well, let's presume I ran the calculations using my very advanced quantum computer. For what it's worth, you've assembled a passable theory. There's only one thing left to do. Your next task is to provide evidence if you can. I'll be generous and satisfied if you can prove literally any single part of this. Well, Aurelia Chase, you did bring evidence, correct? Prove any of this? Well, I better think this over carefully. I can prove that you used a drone in one of the murders, that Mrs. Holden was shot after being found, that you removed 1 bullet from Mrs. Holden's gun. Absolutely nothing else. That middle one seems like we would have the most chance. They all seem pretty okay. We can do a second autopsy. I guess we could do the holes, maybe? That settles it. Let me take a look at your so-called proof. As I thought, this is objectively meaningless. What? But you'll have to be decisive. More decisive than that, it should say. 0 out of 10. If you want to convince anyone.
I dare say, this is my most objective penalty yet.
I'm objectively losing. Alright, calm down, think this over again. I'm gonna try it. Absolutely nothing of this. Well, no, I don't think I can prove any of that. Correct, this is as far as you can go. Please reflect on the efficiency of this approach. So that was the right answer. I was thinking it might be. The others are a long shot. If you can't prove any aspect of this is objectively useless in court, was it really necessary to waste time and resources constructing this theory? What? You literally asked me to do it. You've been repeating that same method for the entirety of this trial. Whether it's a TV recording, Mrs. Holden's motives, or any variation of your poison theory, there's no question you are capable of assembling some pieces and constructing a narrative. That's what I would expect of a journalist, I suppose. As a detective, however, you are still fundamentally lacking. You spend considerable effort on making sense of your theories, and completely forget about the actual supporting evidence. As such, you are bound to come up short time and time again, making no notable progress. If you don't want to feel like a wheel spinning in place, then think about how you can fix that. Noted. Well, can't exactly say she doesn't have a point with that criticism. I've been trying to sell most of these just because they're possible. Pardon me, but are we done here? Can I go? Or do you want to try running through an entire accusation for me, too? Not that I'm low on supplies to enjoy the spectacle. I may like popcorn. I believe we're objectively done here. At least I heavily recommend this is where you back off, Aurelia Chase. Well, about that.
It's clear Miss Chase has no valid further questions. The direct examination's over. I suppose Miss Maristella may still perform a cross-examination, but...
Nah, I'm good. It's obvious these two were too incompetent to see the real killer. And they totally cleared me for Mrs. Holden's murder. Good job letting that go unchallenged, Aurelia.
Very astute. Indeed, there appears to be no need for that. The two witnesses are hereby dismissed from the stand.
Please tell me you have a plan. Sort of? No choice but to take it, I guess.
Well then, it appears these witnesses have only worse than the third-party plaintiff's case. At any rate, there does not appear to be anything else to pursue here.
Aurelia might be done, but I'm not.
Well, as you just said, there's nothing for you to do. She clearly failed to present a proper case.
That one was totally random anyway. I'm so over it. But just casually pinning the second murder on me? You don't get to do me like that. Y'all don't even know what you're talking about. I'm gonna call my own witness to set this straight.
A witness? Haven't we heard from everyone already?
Wrong. There's still someone else. And you bet it's someone who straight up witnessed the crime. This has got to be complete nonsense.
You mean to say there was another witness to the crime? That should be impossible, by all accounts.
Can we just move on? There's no way she committed the original crime. Oh, was that just now? Why did everyone freeze? I don't know what you're talking about, man. She just glared at me while you all stopped moving. Am I going insane? Don't overdo it. I don't want to see you get contained in Area 51.
Please settle down, everyone. That's a rather extraordinary claim you just made, Miss Maristella. I expect you to back it up accordingly. Please tell us who this witness is. I would also like to see supporting evidence that this witness was indeed on the lower floor.
You're not winging it, I hope. I'll just have to have faith she knows what she's doing. That's all? I thought they asked tougher questions in court. Let's start with the proof. This here totally shows someone else was on the lower floor. The impression of a small face. And you know, this is a small person. And this is the most likely suspect for that. You might experience some deja vu once you hear this. Because my surprise eyewitness is this one right here.
Miss Polo, she clearly saw the other murder, but what's her connection to yours?
Remember this? Of course you do. It's the shelf you used to try and say I'm a liar. Well, get ready for the Uno reverse, sort of. It's not about what isn't on there, you see, but about what is. Right, I was wondering about that myself earlier. Sure you were, but then you just accepted Victoria hand-waving it. There's no way this is some super old disturbance. There would have been new dust covering it by now. This is a big proof that someone else was downstairs recently and left an impression of their face. There's only one person here who is small enough to match that.
Well, I'll be. I don't know about this. You see, it seemed like rather strange grounds to conclude it was her.
That's why we should call it to the stand and she'll confirm or deny it. It's a simple yes or no question. We can skip the examinations if she has nothing to say. She will, though. That girl knows something.
Well, that should be reasonable enough. Are there any objections to Miss Maristella's request? Really? No objections, Miss Preston.
No, Lillian. I seriously do not care to discuss these with you. Critique from someone who does not understand the story is worthless.
Is it an objection or...?
I think she's talking in her sleep, Bjorn. Probably best for everyone to keep it that way. Yeah, Aurelia. Precisely. That's where you belong. This punishment will be your most valuable lesson. No. Take this. Never mind. Somebody please wake her up before I hear any more of this. No objections. There you go. Again, you'd think Susan would have stepped in to sort a lawyer out by now.
Regardless, I cannot allow this. There is an obvious issue of relevance here. This witness is immaterial given what we've just heard from Dr. Hellinger. Miss Chase's theory has already been debunked with a bunker buster.
Oh, I guess you're right. Not so fast. If this person was there, that means there was another way to reach the lower floor. It's a new potential way for Lillian to get rid of the evidence. We have to hear this witness to absolutely rule out this opportunity.
I suppose as a grounds, however strained, I will allow a brief inquiry. Depending on the witness's answer, we will hear her testimony. Please return to the stand one more time, Miss Mariko.
Judge sounds resigned. Impressive. You're already a natural at getting more people called to the stand, Lillian. Hi.
Miss Mariko, you heard the third-party plaintiff's suggestion. I will simply ask the question, did you go to that lower floor today?
Yes. Just like that.
Well, I'll be. And you didn't say anything sooner. What in the world were you doing down there?
Nobody asked. I'm an explorer. I explore all the places. Obvious, right? That's no excuse to conceal vital testimony. Rude. I didn't need to intervene. The Star did it. You figured it out. The Star? Oh, you mean Lillian. So, I'm called a villain, but she gets to be called a star? Fair.
In any case, Miss Mariko, we will require your testimony. Another eyewitness on the lower floor can hardly be dismissed.
Okay, if it helps punish the bad girls, I'll tell you about my expedition.
The depths.
That's right, I crawled into the depths of those caves again to look for my lost weapon. A new hole in the floor had opened. I fell into a cave full of ears. There was one other exit. It led to a twisted hallway with an ancient shelf. That was when I saw the star through the shelf. She entered the door with the evil smile on the other side. A second later, there were loud gunshots. It was very shocking. I was at the door the whole time. The doctor and a Candyman ran inside a minute later. It's where the evil smiles went. It was getting too scary, so I headed back east and climbed out the same way I came.
I assume when you say caves, you're talking about those ventilation shafts again.
You can call them that, like last time.
I suppose I should have known that would be the explanation again.
I gather this is why the vent cover and autonomy was damaged then.
Well, leaving aside the extraordinary presence of this witness, this testimony seems to confirm what we learned previously. Rather than support Miss Maristell's case, this completely contradicts her testimony. Combined with the previous account, it's clear now that she was at the scene during the crime.
This makes no sense.
You can still perform a third examination if you want.
Okay, let me think of a question. Alright, Brat. You sure you didn't get knocked out in the vents and dream the rest? Rude. Help me out here. Easier said than done. You should have contradicted everything you said. On the other hand, this does give us an extra person with a sort of alibi downstairs. You think she might be the culprit we're looking for? I feel that's too good to be true. The testimony sounds totally honest to me. It's not to wonder I'm too tired to really tell. Well, if she isn't lying, that's still something to work from. Yeah, these guys have been up a long time now. Like, do they have coffee down there? Would they be able to function? Well, for me, my go-to drink is Dr. Pepper. If there was a Dr. Pepper vending machine, I'd be set. Or your go-to drink for staying awake, that is. If we managed to make sense of that uncanny contradiction, I reckon we'd be a lot closer to figuring out what really happened. So you're ready to take over from here? You really need to work on your own interrogation skills. It's hard when it doesn't seem like they're lying to you. I also just don't like this witness. Besides, you're already warmed up. Fair reasons when you're in court. Well, I think I already spotted some potential issues in this one. Nice, you got this. Okay, I'm good.
That's the extent of your examination. Perhaps I'm too used to people pressing the witness on everything they say.
I don't know what you're talking about, Your Honor.
I suppose there's not really much room to fight the facts in this case.
I'd like to move on to my cross-examination then.
Why are you doing this to me? This witness turned out entirely beneficial to you, did she not?
I still intend to establish a connection between this and the murder of Mrs. Holden. There's no way I wouldn't question the witness about that, no?
I don't see how you would do that here, but it's not like I can stop you. Keep in mind, however, that there will be consequences if you're only doing this to waste time. I want us to get some sleep, and you'll keep me up all night. No more arbitrary attempts to simply draw more testimony out of this witness. Are we clear?
I know the drill by now. This witness may be bad for us, but if she didn't exist, this would already be over. This may be my last chance to make something happen. Very interesting we got her up understanding her. According to the depths of those caves, look for her lost weapon. Now that is very questionable. I think we should talk about that weapon you lost. What was that exactly? Scared? Behold, the orichalcum trident. Do you know the definition of a trident? Sonic beam! Louder, but it's not scary. How is that a weapon? You're not even using it. It will resonate with my voice and make it stronger. So it shoots powerful sound waves and drowns you. How would that drown me? Are you playing dumb? The waves. Huge waves. That's how Atlantis sank. I was there when it happened. You know what? I'm just going to accept that as fact. More importantly, let's talk about when you lost that weapon. How did that happen? That was your fault. I dropped it when I saw you kill the merchant. That was too scary. I see. Well, something seems familiar about that weapon of yours. I have a good guess, but where'd you get that thing in the first place? I found it in the treasure chamber. I assume that means the display room with a large hole in the window. Yeah, that's where I found it. The cube of infinite colours was also there, but I couldn't carry that much. In other words, you straight up stole it. What? No! I found it first, so it's mine. That's not how that works. It obviously belongs to someone already. That makes no sense. Why are there explorers if you can't keep what you find? You're a couple centuries too late for that logic. You know, you want to come over to UK? Come work for the British Museum, you know? I don't want to give it back. It's one of a kind. I'll never find something like this again. Go. You know what? Just get the royal family to pay to steal some crown jewels.
You're going to have to return it. Unlike the crown jewels from the royal family, regardless, there doesn't appear to be much reason to dwell on these points. It clears up a reason for being there, but isn't relevant beyond that, no?
About that, you're right. Let's look at something else. That must have been the room labelled Autonomy, I presume. A cave filled with ears.
Ears? Dear God! So that's what happened to the Reaper's missing victims.
We're definitely only talking about the wall pattern here. They were painted everywhere. It was spooky. Anything else you saw or did in that room? I'm trying to think of every detail. There were some old dusty things, but no treasure. So, can you see for sure there was nothing on nobody else's note inside at the time? It was a huge room. I might have missed something. I didn't see anyone, at least. So you weren't that thorough. Understandable. Around what time did all this happen, by the way? Don't know. I went back into the caves right after everyone panicked because the Reaper appeared. The second recess, that would have been around 10. Isn't that like 3 hours before the incident? What were you doing down there during all that time? When I fell down into the depths, I hit my head and passed out.
Oh dear, I'm glad you're okay.
I was fine, but my legs hurt. There was a couch in the corner. It looked comfy. So I sat down and fell asleep. You fell asleep? Yes. How could you possibly sleep in this situation? Rude. It's not, and I was tired. Well, one person got a good night's sleep at least. There's no telling at what time the next thing you saw happened then. Yes, but if you're smart, you can know. I didn't want to spoil it, but there'll be gunshots later.
It's doubtful there'd be another incident that matched ours that well. Not entirely unheard of, but I would expect proof for such a claim.
Fair enough. Let's get to it then. You walked into the hallway at some point. Is the shelf everything you saw? The hallway was empty otherwise. Yeah, it's not counting the doors. Right. Looking at the floor plan, there's a line of view from each door to the other two. What did the door to your right look like? It was open. That lines up with the testimony of the previous witnesses. Were you able to see anyone inside? No, I didn't get close. Seemed like an obvious trap. The shelf was much more interesting. Who put it there? A blocked path like that must be hiding a secret. You were planning to climb it as well, weren't you? Of course. Well, the star never climbed it. She's a liar. Which means I was the first. You never climbed it either if we look at the dust. Fine, I only thought about it. I really wanted to try though. That's when someone appeared on the other side. Are you really talking about the door to the justice room? Yes, that's the one that had a smiling mouth. Just making sure. We're talking about Lillian here, right? Names are hard to remember. It was your friend with the star on her shirt. You couldn't have made a mistake? Did you actually see her face? My eyes are like telescopes. I saw it all. She didn't look in my direction, but it really was her. She didn't look in your direction, so it could be someone in disguise, but probably not. And what was she doing? Describe her movements. She came from the other side of the hallway, obviously. She ran to the door of the evil smile into that room. Didn't stop to look around. Nothing else? That's all, really. Why do you question me so much? Now I'm beginning to wonder... Actually, no, that wouldn't make sense. That'll be because it's impossible this happened. If Lillian was just about to commit the crime, she must have had the gun with her. You saw her holding that, I take it? No, but I only saw her left hand.
Well, this seems familiar. Be a little careful with leading questions, Miss Chase.
Oh well. I figured she might have give herself away if her goal is to incriminate Lillian. It'd be pointless. Lillian said she didn't think this witness was lying right now. Okay, you saw her run into the justice room. What then? You didn't actually see her shoot them. True, unlike when I saw you. Well, technically you also didn't...
Stay on the topic of this testimony, please. Stay on the topic of this testimony, please. Stay on the topic of this testimony.
Sure, I don't know why you sung that. If you didn't see Lillian shoot, then what did you see? Nothing. That's odd. Did Lillian close the door behind her? The door was left open, but I couldn't see inside.
I suppose it would have been a dead angle from your position on the shelf.
You're telling me she just walked into the room and fired away? Without even closing the door behind her? Isn't that normal? Well, I'm no expert on shooting people. That much is obvious. The point is, it seems rather carefree from her to just leave the door open. Haha, that didn't help you. It's what she did. I don't know why she did it. Evil people are weird. Fair enough. Even so, shouldn't that mean there'd be at least something to see? If the door was open, you should have been able to see flashes when the gun was fired. Well? Oh, you're right. Like when I saw you. No, I didn't see any fireworks this time. That's odd, isn't it? Even if you weren't looking at the gun directly, it seems hard to believe you'd see no flash. Really? The rooms in that underworld are huge. Maybe she was too far away? The weird walls might also make it hard to see. And there was more light in the lair where you shot the merchant. Than in the lair where you shot the merchant.
Light in the city is very dim. Makes sense that the flash would be less noticeable in better conditions.
Doesn't look like I'm going to convince anyone. I'm surprised an explorer like you could manage to maintain a focus on one object like that. There wasn't really anything else to look at. The hallway was narrow and those walls hurt my eyes. You're saying you wouldn't have missed anyone else enter or leave while you were in the hallway? And you're positive you didn't even blink once? Maybe I blinked, but that's not enough to sneak in or out. I guess the other witnesses confirmed it as well. But if true, the culprit would have had no chance to slip out of the room. Let's talk about the people you did in fact see them. How did they arrive? Don't know. Both were running. Were they carrying anything of note? The Candyman was holding this tray. I get you're talking about Mr. Cover, but can we go with something other than Candyman? Why? He sells candy. It fits. How about Sweets Merchant or something? But the merchant is the one you shot. That'd be confusing. Well, but let's talk about what happens next. They ran inside a minute later, but we already know that she didn't. That's what I'm going to present, but first I'll press the start statement. I'm impressed you managed to get back without any issues. It couldn't have been easy to climb a vertical vent like that. It was nothing. I've climbed taller trees than that. Though it was a little tricky to get the secret passage in the cave to open again. I need to knock a lot before it let me back out. The most impressive part might just be how this girl managed to live this long. I took you didn't notice anything weird on your way back? No, I only wanted to get away. Sorry, I wasn't able to watch until the end.
It's quite alright, Miss Miracle. What you saw covered all the relevant events.
Well, it's doubtful anyone could have slept out unnoticed after the other two arrived in the room. What am I supposed to make of this? Nothing adds up if she really saw you enter the crime scene before the shots. You sure she isn't lying at all? The only time this girl was alive was all the way back in her introduction. Doubt that's relevant here. She lied back then? What about? Yep, it felt like it was around the time she stated her name. She's totally using a fake one. Interesting. But you're right, I doubt trying to press her on that would make much of a difference. It's interesting. I mean, Marco Polo, you know, it's Marco Polo. That's just like a reference to the Explorer. So, you know, just because she's given everyone these like weird titles part of her game. And MP is notable because it's Monopoly's initials, that's what I was thinking. Could she be related to anyone? I don't think so. Right now, we have to figure out how to best dissect this test room. I remember her last one all the way back. She said something incorrect, but only because she totally misused a word. No actual lies involved. Maybe we should watch out for something like that again? I don't know about that. There really is very little you could get wrong this time around. She's using some adventurous terminology again, but it's clear enough what she's talking about. Okay, well that was my idea. Unless you want to go down the dream route, let's not. I should probably just focus on where her testimony doesn't line up with the facts we know. I can always work out the real explanation afterwards. Easy enough, just present my testimony. Yeah, it'd probably have to be a contradiction with anything except that. Oof, defendants have it rough. You're telling me. The doctor and the Candyman ran inside a minute later. Now what I'm thinking is doctor could refer to someone else because when we press, she only talked about the Candyman. The two of them arrived a minute later. I'm getting an odd sense of deja vu here. What is that? Don't worry about it. The point is, this is an issue we just discussed with the other witnesses. Mr. Cover certainly could have shown up within roughly a minute. However, Dr. Hellinger took at least several more minutes. There should have been a noticeable time difference between those two arrivals. What? That's not right. Did the doctor really say that? You put it down on paper even. It took several minutes to gather all the hunting tools. That's a lie then. They got there right after each other. I'm sure the doctor got there first and I didn't see any tools. The other man carried his candy tray, that's all.
Miss Chase, what in the world does this mean?
Why am I always the one who has to explain everything? Well, clearly this contradiction can only mean one thing. I have no freaking idea. Not good. I need more time to think about this one. I mean, what she witnessed must have been a totally different event, huh?
Separate from what the other witnesses talked about. But she identified them, no? And this matches with our incident otherwise.
Well, yeah, it does seem to make no sense whatsoever.
Miss Miracle, there's no chance you were simply mistaken.
I'm not a liar, and I'm not wrong either.
And it appears this testimony does not only contradict Miss Maristella, but also our other two witnesses. Which means all three testimonies are contradicting each other.
Who really cares? We're going to find out who really cares next time. A bit of an awkward place to leave it, but I did want to make sure I got that last present before I have to end off today. Thanks for watching, and we'll continue cross-examining this cheeky little adventurer who really managed to land herself in the most awkward situations just by crawling through the vents, end up in the wrong place at the wrong time, or the right place in the right time, considering how it's helping to solve this case. Yeah, we'll deal with her next time. So yeah, see ya.